Hey guys, today I'll be showing you how to create a modal using JavaScript and HTML. So here I have in my HTML a div that contains a modal wrapper, and this wrapper will fill up the whole screen using position absolute. I have the content of the modal, which will be the actual container, and that'll be the container that contains the modal content. And then here I have some basic styles, the show modal button. The modal wrapper just has a width of 100% and a height of 100%, and just centering the content using this code, whilst the inner container has a width of 90% and a height of 50%. But these values you can change for your own designs, but this is just the simple styling that I'm going to be using today. But for the JavaScript, the variables that we need to contain from the HTML is the wrapper, and we'll just call this my modal. And we want to get the ID of the outside wrapper, which is this one. And we also want to get the value of the button, the show modal button. And we'll get the ID and just put it there. So the basic function of a modal is when I click on this button, it should open up the container, and then when I click somewhere else on the screen that isn't the container, then it should close. But you can also add a exit button on the top right corner of your modal. Alright, so I'm going to have an onClick function when you click on the show modal button. And the reason why I originally had this outside wrapper filling up the whole the whole body or the whole page is so that when I click on that ID and it's not the container but the outside wrapper, then it should close. So thinking ahead, that's why I've put the outside wrapper. But going back to just displaying the modal, right now I've just set it to display none, but I want to display flex or display block. But because my styles center the content using display flex, I'm going to display flex it. So my modal dot style dot display. So you use this to access CSS styles, and then display, we want to change that value to flex. So it's not going to show yet, but it will show when we click on the show modal button. So when I click here, it shows the modal. This isn't supposed to be a nice design, but we can just see that the modal wrapper or the modal container shows when we click on the button. Or when we click outside of this container, it's not hiding it. So the code that we want to use to do that is window.onClick equals function, and then we're going to have a parameter called e. So when we click anywhere on this window, it's going to get that target value or the item or element that we've clicked. And we want, if it's equal to the ID of the big wrapper or the big container, then we will hide the modal container, the inner modal container. So how we do that is if e.target, and this gets the element that we've clicked on, is equal to my modal. So the modal is the outside wrapper. Then what do we want to do? We want to hide the inner container, or just the whole container itself. So my modal dot style, and to hide it, we just say display none. So if we look to the screen here, the modal isn't showed yet, but if we click on the button, it shows. We click anywhere on this, but it's not giving us the my modal value. But if we click on the outside wrapper, it hides the modal. You can also add a button inside the modal container, and let's say we put this as close modal, or we can just put an X, and we'll set this ID to close modal button. And if we just set a new variable inside the JavaScript called let close modal button, and store it in there, and once we click on this close modal button, then we also want to hide the modal. So this is just incorporating the close modal button if we wanted to have the X on inside the modal. So we show it, and I haven't styled to position to the top right, but if we click on it, it hides the modal as well as having the option to click outside. So that's how you would use JavaScript to show and hide a modal, and I hope you guys found that video useful. So thanks for watching.